Test, test, 1 2 1 2.
Humans can hear us. Or
Hello, humans. Hello, internet. Hello, world at large.
world at
Hello, any
large.
alien creatures or post-humans that eventually find this broadcast on radio waves beamed into space halfway to Alpha Centauri in the centuries to come.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Spike,
I'm Cal.
And I'm Amanda.
and this is the Iron Circus Geek Show. This is basically a shoot the shit program we upload to YouTube because podcasts require too much editing and effort, and people said they missed the one we used to have. So we're doing this instead because we're all busy people with lives.
Oh, good. I'll clip that and make that our intro. I'll make a button I press and it's that.
Just beep boop, and it just
Get a
says that.
soundboard and it's just like, Spike, talk for
Yeah.
me, say the intro. Okay.
Exactly.
We are going to try to keep it comics adjacent for the most part.
Oh, for sure.
I don't want it to be like just three more weirdos on the internet with a podcast talking about
Groceries
whatever.
and what other podcasts they listen to.
Don't you want to
What-
talk about burnout again?
What the dog did.
Let's talk about burnout again.
Yeah. Let me just go ahead.
I will let you know, Spike,
Mhm.
but I still hate drawing horses.
Oh, well,
Um,
thank you for the update. I didn't expect that to change in like the fucking 20 years I've known you.
I think this is a lead-in.
This is a lead-in to the page I'm drawing now. Has a horse parade,
Oh.
and I hate it. I hate it. It's horrible. Too many horses.
Well, did you do this to yourself or are you working from someone else's script?
I did this to myself. For some reason, writer me hates artist me, and has sworn vengeance upon them. Yeah.
Well,
I
speaking
should have made a fantasy world where everyone rides like chocobos or some shit like
do you know what I did
You
in one of my
should have done
Slipshine
it.
comics?
What?
In one of my Slipshine comics, I had these two characters like in a fantasy setting and they're like walking through the rain trying to find shelter. And I kind of realized I started to thumbnail a character on a horse. I'm like, wait, this is a fantasy world. That doesn't have to be a horse. So she rides a tree stump with legs.
There you go. That's probably way easier to
Yeah.
draw than a horse.
It kind of looks like a turtle without a
Yeah.
head.
Kel, you gotta think outside the box.
I it's too late now. There
I
are 1 million
refuse.
horses.
I refuse to feel any sympathy because you
wait.
did it to yourself.
The
This
next-
is self-inflicted.
The next chapter, the characters are talking about the events of the story, and offhand are like, yeah, it's a shame about the horse plague.
The horse
Every
plague.
horse dead. Every single one.
Well, a plot point at the beginning of the comic is that a kid gets kicked in the head by a horse.
Oh, those can
and-
be so bad, though.
I know. That's why he's dead.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, he does not survive that.
Yeah.
He dead.
Yeah. Weird aside, this is just very much off topic, but it's what I think about whenever people sort of discuss horses, because there are some people it's like, I just don't like horses, and there are some people who are like, I love horses. And I am always, no matter what, vaguely afraid of horses camp.
Oh, yeah,
Because-
that's me. I'm scared of horses. They're scary.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing. Horses are prey animals, and they are hardwired to be afraid. And when you're hardwired to be afraid, you react to certain things in irrational ways all the time, and there's simply no training that out of you. And horse people have all kinds of rules that they don't really discuss with non-horse people. And the existence of those rules are simply so your horse doesn't kill you by accident. Because we're all used to fantasy that's like, oh, and he rode ye black charger, which did trample upon all of the little people. No.
What the
Horses
hell did
can't-
you just say?
No, it's just, I'm thinking about fantasy.
I'm
where it's
genuine.
like,
What did you just say? What were those
the
words?
he rode the black charger, which did trample upon all the little people. But it's like the big bad always has the big scary horse that kills people on purpose, and it's like, no, horses kill people by accident, like, constantly, and they don't
they
need
do
to.
also kill people on
Purpose.
purpose if they're monsters.
Yeah, but it's way more common that someone simply did not tell someone, don't come up behind a horse and touch its butt.
Yeah.
Like, that's horse safety number one. The only reason I know this, by the way, is and this is again even
Oh no,
farther
is this
off topic.
horror? Is this going to be a horror story?
It's not a horror story.
Okay.
No. Where I grew up, in Maryland, a lot of girls were horse girls. Like we had a lot of horse girls, and these schools kind of leaned into that by making us read things like Misty of Chincoteague, which is a very regional book. But if you're a horse girl of any stripe in any state in the U.S., you've probably read Misty of Chincoteague. And that's because there is an island called Chincoteague Island near where I grew up, where at some point hundreds of years ago, a galleon of some description crashed in a storm. All the horses aboard it survived and swam to the island and proceeded to go totally fucking feral. And so there are all these ponies or horses or whatever they are on Chincoteague Island, just living wild without touching people. And you can go to the beach near Chincoteague and like lay out your beach umbrella and have your lunch and just have a beach experience with a horse 10 feet away. And
oh God, sorry. So Paul in the chat says, if the internet's taught me anything, horses are good at killing people and ants are good at killing horses. Oh God.
And when you go to Chincoteague Island, one of the things that they tell you is do not fucking touch the wild horses. Like, they're not wild horses, they're feral, technically. Like, they're still domesticated.
Well, like, you shouldn't even touch a dog you don't know.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know you don't touch the fucking horses on Chincoteague. Like, that's the first thing they tell you, and some people still don't really think that way. And a lot of people get almost kicked in the head or genuinely kicked. And it's because that's what horses do. It's not like unique to Chincoteague. It's like if a horse doesn't know you and it's having a day and it feels something on its butt, it's gonna go and just hit.
Excellent horse.
Spike, I put in our chat the pages I'm drawing, and then the page I mentioned where the kid gets kicked in the head.
Oh yeah, I've seen
this. Fantastic! I'm always down to see someone being kicked in the head.
that is a dude getting bodied by a horse. Yep.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Hey Kel, we're caved in skull buddies in our current comics.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've been happy to be left out.
The thunder and lightning scared the horse, so he kicked that kid in the head.
So I take it he was not the chosen one.
Well,
it's the thing is a plot point later is another kid finds the horse. So if this kid didn't attempt to steal the horse, that kid wouldn't have been able to find the horse later. They're all in a Rube Goldberg machine of destiny.
That should be the.
I have never heard you pitch it like that. That is an excellent way to pitch it.
That is a perfect elevator pitch. The Rube Goldberg machine of destiny.
I was interviewed on a podcast, and that is how I explained it, and that's what they titled the episode, Rube Goldberg.
Oh, okay. No, that's great. I've personally never heard you describe it that. I'm like, nope. That's why when Spike was like, guess he's not the chosen one. I was like, well, it's more complicated than that.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
not how it works.
That's why when people are like, well, can you break this story up to follow one kid at a time? And I'm like, no, because it's a Rube Goldberg machine. They all have to be doing their part.
If the chicken doesn't lay the egg at that exact moment, so it goes rolling down the shelf under the power of the fan, it won't hit the puppy in time. And when the puppy turns around to lick the egg off of its back, that means the chessman won't be knocked over. Come on, use your head!
Duh.
Yes.
Someone else in chat says, shouldn't touch any animal you don't know. That is correct. Any animal you don't know.
100%.
Also, I say this all the time. If you have a dog, I don't care how nice your dog is. I don't want it on me.
No.
The end. That's it.
That's very defensible, though.
I used to live when I lived in Portland. I was in an apartment and there was an elevator, and my neighbors all had big dogs. And we get in the elevator, and the dogs would be on me, and I'm like, no, thank you, no. And I back up, like, it's okay, he's friendly. I'm like, if you had a 7-year-old and you were letting your 7-year-old climb on me, that would not be cool. Yeah. Get your dog off me. I don't know your dog.
I don't think Lucy is capable of it now. In case folks in the chat don't know, I have a pit bull mix named Lucy, and she is a bit geriatric, so she's a bit older now.
Fat.
But one of the things that kind of made sure we always kept her on a leash when she was around other people is that people really like the way she looks. She looks like a friendly dog, and Lucy really, really likes human attention. And so if you bend down and you start rubbing her, she'll jump on you. And Kel can confirm this is a thing Lucy did when she was younger and a little less arthritic. But
I did get her to stop jumping on me in particular. because whenever she tried to jump on me, I would take her paws and be like, "Oh, you want to dance?"
Yes, and she does
and
not like that.
She did not like that, so she stopped jumping on me in particular. She continued to jump on everybody else.
Yep.
But I remember, like, the third or fourth time I visited, she did not jump on me because she
Yeah.
knew I was going to make her dance.
But it actually gets worse than that. You see, some people react to Lucy jumping on them, excuse me, by going, "Oh wow, oh look at you, aren't you full of beans?" And they encourage her. And the more a person encourages Lucy, the kind of crazier Lucy goes.
Does she just
And
does she do the wiggle?
she does something that could definitely hurt someone, which is why we don't like her doing things to people. The thing that she would do is, if you encourage her while she's jumping on you, if you like rub her head and like, you know, give her kisses and rub her face and pat her butt, she will run away from you, like screech to a halt, turn back around, run back towards you at top speed, and then straight up try to vault off of your thigh or knee. And
Oh, yeah.
this is a 45-pound dog. And she would just get so excited, and she'd do this, and she did it to me, and she did it to Matt, and we were like, okay, that hurt. We have to make sure she never does that to like the older people who live
Oh my
in this
god, I'm
building.
imagining her like cannonballing at a child.
Yeah, she could. She absolutely could. Like if some rambunctious 11-year-old decided they wanted to wind her up, she would be like, "Game!" and immediately vault off of them. And I would hate to see that. I would genuinely, she could knock them completely over.
It would be great.
She wouldn't mean it. She wouldn't mean it, but she'd do it for sure.
She can't help
So,
that
yeah.
she's dense and bouncy.
Exactly. But yeah.
Bless her heart.
Yes, dancing dogs are great. They are amazing. But I love her very much, but I do know her limits.
Well, I think the thing people forget about animals is at the end of the day, they are animals, but even still, like, we do things to animals that, like, if you did that to a person would bite you.
For sure.
Like, why did you think the animal, like, and the people will be like, but it loves me. It's like, if my brother got that close into my face and, like, was like, would not get out, I'd bite his nose. I'd bite I love my brother, but if he like would not get out of my face and I was uncomfortable, I'd probably freak out and bite him or scratch him or something.
Yeah.
Like people get like people like, "Oh, can I hold your rats?" I'm like, "Yeah." Do they bite? I'm like, I mean, yeah. They haven't bit anyone that I know. They've never really bit anyone, and I've never been injured. But like, of course they bite. They're animals. Just
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? Do they bite? I'm like, yeah, they got teeth.
Yeah, and from my experience owning rats, it's like, yes, I was about to say rats don't have hands. They kind of do.
they
but
don't got thumbs.
They have manipulative,
Little
extensions.
grabbies.
That's a great way to put it. They got little grabbies.
Little
But
grabby.
they tend to investigate the world. Like their vision is shit. This is well known.
Oh, yeah.
And they tend to investigate the world via sniffs, whiskers, and investigatory nibbling.
Yeah, like
And
little chomps.
sometimes that investigatory nibbling is your finger or your nose or your toe or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And they do this to people they like very much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did
your
I?
rat bites.
Yeah. Sorry. I told you about Pepper and how he used to pilot me like a Gundam, right? He's the only
go on.
He's the only rat I ever had. Bless his heart. Rest in peace, Pepper. He lived a long rat life, but he was the smartest
out
rat
for a
I
real
ever
one.
had. Yeah, pour one out for a real one for Pepper. But he would do this thing where if I was holding him and he'd want me to take him somewhere, he'd like grab a piece of my shirt or he'd grab a finger like between his teeth gently, but he'd firmly and pull me in the direction he wanted me to go. He's the
So
only.
he was like the character from Ratatouille.
Yeah, kinda. Except it was my fingers and shirt. He just knew if he tugged me in a direction, I would go in that. I was like, "Oh my god, are you training me? Great, cool, okay." So I leaned into
Was it effective?
Yes, because it was adorable. So of course I like leaned into it. But it got to a point
Yeah.
where I'd have him out, and he'd be like, "No, we're going back." And he'd pull on my he'd grab like my pointer finger and like kind of push it in the direction he wants, like he's steering me or something. Like, "No, we're going this way," and I'm like, "We are not." And he would keep at it. He's like, "No, I know this works." I'm like, "God damn it."
Then
No,
he
it's
was like,
bath
"God damn it,
time.
this thing is broken."
It's like, it's bath time. You don't get to steer me right now.
By the way, I just want to go back real quick because Kel is talking about horses in comics and how they are the bane of their existence and how even though they know this, they wrote it into to
Yeah.
their current comic, You Are the Chosen One. I can I'm kind of in a weird place there too myself because I am also doing a comic right now, which Amanda has bullied me into calling Blacada, so I guess that's what it's going to be called. And the chapter is closing out, and I am one page away from being forced to decide what the fuck the Beast of Burden in this world looks like. And
Just
also,
make it chocobos.
I don't want, see, that's the thing. I have this creative process I use. I don't
Small
remember where
hippos.
I heard it. I don't remember where I heard it, and I didn't make it up, so I don't want to take credit for it. But it's been very useful to me, which is if you're trying to sort of make a interesting fantasy world or sci-fi world, frankly, any kind of fictional world, the first idea you have should be immediately discarded. So your first instinctual idea, the one that's most likely to be polluted by the media you yourself consume, or be the first thing anyone in your position would go for, just no, right away, no. And my first thought for what Beast of Burden is going to be in Blacada, it's like, well, maybe some kind of bird. Oh, it's the first thing I thought of, so no.
Hippos.
So I actually have a plan for something that is a reference to a
giant
creature.
tardigrades. Oh god.
Just have it be they're pulled by giant sloths.
I have already planned what
Ground
I got.
sloths.
Okay.
It has to make sense in context to me. And here's the thing. Like, I get really fucking, like, anthropological and paleontological about this kind of shit.
Like a nerd.
And part of the reason... I know, right? Part of the reason that, in my opinion, one of the things that's off limits, just because of the standards of the worlds I make, y'all can do it if you want, but the standard of the world I am making... there is no way there can be sort of a
Sorry, I was laughing at the chat.
a thing that eats meat and is a beast of burden, because keeping it alive would be insanely expensive
Hippo.
for someone who is using it in a utilitarian way. Okay, so like when I see people writing things like, you know, giant panther monsters or something. It's like, yeah, I mean, if you're gonna care about the world,
that's why I said giant sloth. They eat.
I'm doing an ungulate. I'm doing an ungulate that makes sense for a mountainous / somewhat cold environment.
Goat.
So,
Are they big goats?
Big goats.
they don't look like goats. I wish I could remember the name of the creature. You know, fucking feel free to go talk about something else while I go Google this. It's a thing that occurs in Tibet, and it's not particularly well known.
I like occurs in Tibet, like they just like appear. They're just there.
To exist in Tibet.
I mean, that is how evolution works.
I was
They
not
disappear.
born. I occurred.
Okay, it's called a takin. Takin, Takin. If anyone wants to go look up pictures.
Takin.
Yeah, takin. It's going to be based roughly off a takin.
Yeah, so they're big goats.
Bison goats.
Yeah, it's a bison goat. Is a great way
That's
to
a
put it.
cute baby. That's a cute baby.
Yeah, because it's like, look at it. Okay, so it eats grass because there's plenty of grass around, and like the people in Blacada, I'm not allowed to like talk about their line of descent.
I normally
that's
wouldn't
lore.
do this, but I have to.
What?
No, keep talking. Keep talking.
It's like I'm not allowed to do this because it's lore, and I'm not allowed to talk about lore because it demotivates me to actually make the fucking comic. But
Weak.
like the takin makes sense to me because it's clearly a grass eater. These people live in the grassland and they do not eat grass. They cannot process grass, just like people can't process grass. But hey, here's a big dumb animal they can use to pull carts.
Look at it.
And it won't freeze to death.
Look at the baby.
It
Everyone.
won't freeze to death. It'll survive. And it also, like, you know, it's probably pretty easy to breed if the domesticated version I make up is going to be anyway. So yeah, it's like I'm going to take the takin and I'm going to rearrange it a little bit because it's believable, but also exotic enough that the average, you know, American who comprises most of my audience is going to be like, what the fuck is that? So basically, I'm cheating. I'm cheating. It's a bison goat.
Talk
I'm going
about
to
lore
cheat
and I'll
use-
steal it. The chat says.
Yeah, isn't that a cute animal?
It's adorable.
It's wonderful.
Just yelling at that
Very
tree.
good goat.
That's what I'm going to use. And I am currently in a place where I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to just call them horses.
Why would you call them horses?
Because I don't
I
feel like
mean-
making up a word for them.
No, I think when it gets
just
that
call
specific,
them the creature they are.
Tackins. Just call them Tackins.
But they're not gonna be Tacken by the
Well,
time
they're
I'm
not going to
done
be
with
horses.
them.
Okay, I'm all for the. This is a phone. We're not going to call it something else because it's a 1-to-1. These are not 1-to-1
Yeah.
animals. I don't think you
Yeah.
can. I think when it comes to that, when it comes like you're the anecdote you're telling about that writer, it's like, well, I'm not. Look, they have their own language for their genders. We're just using our language to make it easier to understand. I get that. I don't get pointing to like a dog and saying we're calling that a cat.
But it's not
Well,
going to be a Tacken. It's just going to be inspired
Right. Well,
by
just
one.
call it.
See, the thing is
call
you're
it a
saying,
beast
like,
or
that they
give-
domesticated it. So yeah,
Yeah.
like it could just be like they took all their Tackins and domesticated them, and that
Yeah,
there
but-
are no normal Tackins.
can-
There are only these ones now.
But these aren't going to be Tackins.
I know.
Like,
I'm
period.
just saying. You can also think of just like call them. I don't know. There's lots of things you could call them.
See, it's
Goats.
annoying. It's annoying.
It's not annoying.
Goat.
I'm not annoyed that I haven't thought of something immediately. You're annoyed. I'm
No,
fine.
my big weakness is always titles. In case you folks like have been following me for a while, you'll notice the titles to everything I fucking do are super simple because I'm not great with titling.
Like you can
things.
call
They're
them
just-
like go off the beast of burden theme. Call them grunts or something. A grunt
suppose
is a sound animals make, but it's also like a grunt is like an underling or someone who does like burdensome work or shit.
Yeah, I suppose.
There's things you can do where it's like it's a word, but it's not like making up an animal, like just making up it's a slooble.
Yeah, maybe I
Yeah.
will call them sloobles. That's pretty good.
You can have slooble. I'll never use slooble.
We will. By the way, Snakes in
I-
June. That's
I,
really good. They're
for-
horses.
For You Are the Chosen One, I was trying to think of like names for shit, like in particular locations. And then I watched a video where a writer went over like how to name fantasy locations, and then they're just like, hey, here's the secret. We're really bad at naming things, so all the names of like cities are just like Fort Hill. And then he's like, there's a town that like in England that just different people kept calling it Hill, so it's like something like Hillshire, and he's like, if you translate all those languages, it's just Hill. Like,
And that's honestly that's like naming conventions globally. And if
Well, also when you
doesn't
think about the
sound-
fact that think of how many cities that the name of that city is Famous City 2.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
there are cities that are sort of like intentional settlements that are named things like City of Brotherly Love and shit like that. But a lot of city names are just, hey, there's a river here. What's the river called?
Yeah.
Oh, the people who live here, they call it, the land of loud water or whatever.
Let's
It's
steal
like,
and
well, what's that
bastardize
in
their
our
words.
language? Yeah, they call it Potomac, It's like, okay, then this is Potomac after the river, which quite frankly just means, loud water or something. And that's just kind of how people do. And or if
Sometimes
it's
it's just named
like,
after a dude.
yeah, it's like there was a neighborhood that I grew up in called Watts Farm, and I lived on a street called Watts Branch Drive in Potomac, and it's because there was a guy named Watt, and he used to own a bunch of farmland, and then a bunch of developers bought it off of him and built suburbs. So I lived on Watts Branch Drive in Watts Farm.
and they named it after the thing they did bulldozed over.
Los Angeles
exactly.
and Los Even Better Angeles.
Yeah, that makes me think of like it's not a sci-fi setting without like a Neo Tokyo or a New Johannesburg or Los Angeles 2 or New York.
Space Texas.
Space Texas.
Yeah,
And that's
so
silly, but at the same time, there's precedent. Sorry, you're saying, Kel?
I was also gonna say, so like one of the kingdoms is named Sunshore, so it's like it's
No, that's a
sunny
good
and on
name.
the shore, so Sunshore.
That's a good name. Yeah.
Then the other thing is the capital is like I haven't named the capital yet, but it's going to be Lily something because the capital's in a delta that looks like a lily, so it's going to be a play off that.
Yeah. It's worth that. It's like it's worth like if you're the type of person who like world builds for fun or you're writing a story and you need to make a bunch of shit up, it's worth knowing, why things get named the way they do. And that includes I think I mentioned this on the last one, what people end up being called, groups of people, and how many groups of people out there just had like random dude come up to them and goes like, "Shay, what do you call yourselves?" And they just sort of like looks at one another and goes, "We're people." And the guy just wrote down their word for people and walked away. And that became what they got called, If they were lucky. And got called a lot worse by that dude.
Someone in chat is saying Wales is derived from the Old English word for foreigner, so it's very much England being like those weirdos over there.
And one of my favorite things, I think a lot of people know this now. It's like it became one of those "did you know" kind of things. But the reason we call them barbarians is because the ancient Romans divided the world into two pieces. One of them is us, and the other is them.
He must have had a real big knife.
Yeah, and us is civilized, cultured. We live in beautiful homes, and we have aqueducts, and we have circuses, and we have coliseums, and we have the Senate, and it was like we have all these sort of accoutrements of what we consider to be the pinnacle of civilization, and the thems were gross wild people that lived in the woods and pissed their pants and ate fermented horse meat, and like those people. Barbarian is making fun of them because their language, which wasn't Latin, sounded to Latin ears like bar, 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 bar. And they're like, okay, yeah, you're barbarians. Okay, sure. And I always thought that was hilarious.
Spike, did you ever see, they found a historical document that in China that is a traveler visiting the Roman Empire and reporting back?
I think I did see that, but go on.
I just like because it basically someone translates it like into English, but then the person who was translating the Chinese scholars' notes, so it was like in Chinese, modern Chinese, and then got translated into English, but the English translator also like translated the notes from the original translator, and so it's stuff like their magicians are very good, they're very good at breathing fire, and like a bunch of different stuff that the guy saw, and the note from the Chinese scholar is someone went to the circus.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But actually, I want to note here that like people are gonna be like, "Lol, Romans." But the thing is, that attitude was very pervasive outside of Rome as well. Like every civilization thought of themselves as the civilized one, and everyone else as like gross, shit-eating barbarians. Like when you see what people wrote about other people in every other culture, it's like very clear because there's this sort of misconception that people were very isolated and grew up, like were born, grew up, lived their entire lives, and died like 5 miles from they were born. 5 miles from where they were born. And while that did happen, there were also people who literally traveled the fucking world, like sailors, especially people who had Silk Road, for example, land trade routes, especially, and a whole unique culture kind of cropped up around those areas. And I've said this before in here, part of the reason, like the cliche starting spot in a lot of role-playing games is the tavern, is that's where the sailors and the travelers and the non-locals go, the people who are out seeing the world and seeing all these different things. It's probably going to be the most diverse place in town, so it makes sense to start in a place like that with a half-orc and an elven bard and a gnome engineer. Like all those people are going to be in that place. And that was how it was like in real life too, minus the fantasy races.
Okay, I tuned out a little bit. I tuned out a little bit between when you were, because I was looking at the chat real quick, when you were talking about like history and then you were talking about like orcs and elves, and that's when I tuned back in and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
what?
I'm mostly talking about how travel and people regarding one another.
I pieced it together in the end, but I was like, what?
Yeah, like one of my favorite bits is there was a Chinese traveler who found Angkor Wat during its like heyday, like when it had villages around it and it was being actively inhabited and maintained, and it was like this glowing jewel in the jungle. And his sort of account of it was, Well, there's no way these people made it themselves. I should ask around and find out what Chinese person built this for them. And it's like, wow, that's astonishingly shitty to just like casually say. But like, that's how people were.
Now we just blame it on aliens.
Now we just, yeah, you know, there's no way this brown person could have made this. That, and it's like, oh wow, look, the most architecturally sound and durable shape, the pyramid, seems to keep appearing all over the world. Clearly aliens did it. It's like, no, that's just what survived. Nothing else survived. Everything else fell down. Like
everyone was trying to make orbs. We all wanted orbs.
Everyone desired the orbs.
We all desired the orb. The orb just didn't make it.
Exactly. And it's just one of those things where it's, what is it called? Survivor bias? Something like that. Yeah, everything's a pyramid. No, you just found the pyramids. There were plenty of other things that didn't fucking make it. Like what people call the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Like they are all gone except the pyramids.
The Epcot ball was just the human desire to make a big orb.
On the topic of pyramids and that being a durable shape, I a couple of months ago read a YA book, Iron Widow, which is basically sci-fi mech stuff, but discussing gender at the same time. And the girl who is in the mech, basically all the mechs have a girl pilot and a boy pilot, and they have to do like training to be in sync. And
that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it sounds like to me.
And so then they're not doing a very good job of being in sync. So her trainer turns to her and says, "Do you have a secret boyfriend? Is that why you're not like in sync with your male partner? You better not be in a love triangle." And she responds to him with, "A triangle is the strongest shape, so suck it."
Nice.
And that's foreshadow to the way they resolve the love triangle in this book is polyamory.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever saves us from the alien invasion or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That made it sound like you're against polyamory, but like you'll let it slide if they save the world.
If it saves us from the aliens, you'll let it slide.
My eyes narrow. I'll allow it this time.
Yeah.
This new in what Shinji's dad glasses.
Spike, you would appreciate this book because there's a part where they want the girl to behave better and be more ladylike. And she's like, "No, fuck you." And they're like, "Think of your family." And she's like, "They can all suck some dicks."
Oh, that does sound good. I need to read more fiction, honestly. I have like this big list of fiction I need to come up on to like catch up on rather. But honest to God, all I read these days is like nonfiction. It's just easier to listen to when you're working, so it gets precedent. The same way I'm super behind on anime because I don't like dubs. I like subs, so I have to be giving it my full attention.
Well, dubs don't even work for me because I still need to watch it. It's a visual thing. Yeah. It's like I will still.
I'm a filthy dubber, and I always watch things while working.
Oh, gross! Casey Green's here. Gross.
Shun.
All dubs all the time.
Just little goblins staring at hell from the surface, rather from the ceiling of a cave.
I can't get to the ceiling, and you know that. How dare you?
Anime goblins.
I've got back problems. How dare you? I live in a hole.
Okay, I finished my horse parade.
Hi, Casey.
Oh, proud of you, buddy.
But yeah, I'm so.
Are you gonna if you share the horse parade with me, I will share it with the viewers, so people can appreciate the terrible things you do to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because no one made you do this.
Yeah, this is self-inflicted.
No one made me do this. This is all my own fault.
Okay, let me.
And next up, it's gonna be like a fucking crowd scene in a coliseum with mounted gladiators, right?
Oh, hell yeah. Chariots.
Yeah, with 3 points perspective. That's important for the dramatic
Chariots.
shot.
No, next scene she goes into an empty church, so that's gonna be a breeze.
Oh, wait, that reminds me.
Architecture. I really like drawing architecture, so
I want
I'm
to
not
say
lying when I say like that will be much more enjoyable.
Here we
to
go,
draw.
everybody. Look at this horrible thing Kel's done. I mean, it's good.
I want to just real quick while we are looking at
But it's a
Kel's
horrible
work,
thing Kel's done to himself.
Yeah. While we're looking at Kel's work, I want to just make a couple of recommendations for folks because we're sitting here discussing drawing hard shit that, we're not thrilled to be drawing. And there are two things that I use. I am perennially shocked by how few people realize these things exist. But, okay, if you have Clip Studio Paint EX, maybe Clip Studio Paint Pro, I don't know. I haven't had Pro in a long time. I have EX. That's what I'm speaking on. When you launch it, like an accessory window pops up that's just Clip Studio. And if you open that up, you will find a button under the Service tab that's on the left-hand column that just says Find Brushes and More Clip Studio
Oh, yeah,
assets.
the assets thing.
I think it is safe to say you have maybe a 75% chance of finding the reference you need for free in Clip Studio assets.
I'm gonna be honest. I actually hate the application. I use the website.
Oh, well, that works too.
Heads
that
up.
works too.
Application sucks.
Both have a search bar. So, for example, recently on Blacata, I needed a reference for a rifle. The rifle reference I found is not an exact match for the rifle I draw, but it's good enough. It works in perspective. So I downloaded that rifle. If Cal had decided, fuck this, I want to draw horses as accurately as possible, there is a horse asset that they could have positioned.
That's what I used to draw all these horses.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
I did not freehand these horses. I'm not that crazy.
You wouldn't freehand a car.
Yeah. But, there are bicycles, there are cameras, there are violins, there are interiors.
The horse model is it has a run cycle built into it.
Yeah, so you can position the legs exactly perfectly.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So so I just all the horses, their legs are in slightly different positions because I just picked a different part of the little run cycle.
I couldn't do that. That's way too close to having a real horse inside my computer.
Because you have that power, Cal. That's why. And it made things.
The complaint about the horse model is there's only one breed of horse.
Yeah, that's horrible.
And you are the chosen one. One of the settings is in a cold mountain climate. So I kind of wanted them to ride,
can you not beef them up and change them like you can the people models?
No, it doesn't work as well because the horse model doesn't have bones. So it's very easy to accidentally make it look like the horse is breakdancing.
You sent me that picture one day. I remember the breakdancing horse.
Air quotes accidentally.
Hey, I mean, we all do what we got to do. I, the other day, built a character's house in Sims 4 because that's what I do when I need reference in pictures of houses. I just build them in Sims 4 and then take screenshots. I'm like, that's their house. And I built like 20 different houses in Sims 4 just to reference in comics.
And the second thing I wanted to recommend is there's a site called Sketchfab, which is just the word sketch and FAB.com, sketchfab.com. And I registered a little free account there. And if the Clip Studio Asset Store isn't doing it, if they're not producing what I need, which is rare but does happen, Sketchfab is really good because it has 3D models of all kinds of shit. I'm actually going to go there right now.
I've never been able to use that program and not get angry. I don't know what it is about that program.
Yeah, the examples that I have on Sketchfab is, and keep in mind, some of this is going to have some sort of comparable thing available in the Clip Studio Asset Shop. But
quick disclaimer: don't maybe get your hope if you don't have Clip Studio yet. Don't get your hopes up about using the 3D assets if your computer's kind of crappy, because they will make your fans just try to take off into the stratosphere.
Yeah. But that's why I'm mentioning Sketchfab here because what I use it for, and I know there are more clever ways to use it, ways that actually involve downloading the model and then putting it in Clip Studio Modeler and setting it up so you can actually import the actual model. But like Amanda said, if your computer can't handle that, or frankly, you're like me and you're too fucking lazy to set it up, if you go into Sketchfab, if you search something like abandoned building or, you know, Chinese alcove bed or statue of Medusa, if you go in there and you find it, if you click on it, a little window will load and you can manipulate what angle you're seeing the model from in the window as just like a preview. It'll run in your browser and everything. And when I get what I need, I just screenshot that shit at the right angle and I just put it in Clip Studio Paint that way on a background layer, on a reference layer. And a combination of Sketchfab and the Clip Studio Asset Store, I have yet to run into something that I can't handle. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try and make up from memory the underside of a truck. I'm just going to go to the Clip Studio Asset Store, find one, or rather the Sketchfab site, and find one and flip it upside down and just do that. Man, it's so much fucking easier.
I should probably, it'd be really funny. I think I'm going to I still have my screenshot for Shibli's kitchen. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm gonna do it side by side. Like, look, I built this kitchen in Sims 4, and that's why it looks consistent from multiple angles. Because I can't visualize 3D spaces. There's just something wrong with something wrong. There's lots of things wrong with my brain, but me in 3D spaces, it's just like, yeah, I need a guide.
One of the cool things about Sketchfab is a lot of the stuff you're going to see on there is, let me actually show you one I love. Maybe you can put it on screen.
I don't know myself with a rubber band.
Ooh, maybe you can put it on screen.
I won't.
Amanda.
What's that?
But here we go.
This is a link. How am I supposed to put this on the screen?
You click it and then you do a screen share. The same way you put
people are going to see my bookmarks.
But
it's freaking out. Whoa.
The thing is, a lot of people who upload models to Sketchfab, they don't actually model it in a program. What they do is they take a device and they set it in front of something or inside something or wherever, and it does a 3D scan of the room. And that way you get the most realistic possible. And the thing I linked Amanda to is one of the models that I have saved, which is just sort of an old-fashioned Middle European interior.
Here, I'll link it to everyone else. They can go and they can click and travel.
And it's if I ever feel the need to draw something like this, here it is. Here's this perfect reference. And I obviously am not going to reproduce it line for line, but it'll help a ton. I won't have to make up, what angle is each individual bowl at on this table. I can just be there it is. And so this is so fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. And it really fulfills that whole thing that took me way too long to learn, which is more technically accomplished art. This doesn't come from less reference. It comes from more reference.
I sit down and design all the places through just drawing concept art. I have a big folder that's just I drew a location to just figure out how it looks from the angles I need it. What I do is I go through my script before I start drawing pages and figure out what needs to be designed. So I'm all right, this is the first time we're seeing Connor's house, so I need to draw this room, and this room in Connor's house. Other rooms in Connor's house can wait till they show up in the story. I'll design them later. But it did make a little floor plan for his house.
And The Sims is a great way to do that.
Oh, I just do it by hand.
That works too.
Quicker.
Yeah.
I always go with what is quickest. Because when you say stuff like the modeler programs or Sims, for me it's just quicker to sit down and draw some squares that are table goes here, window goes here.
See, I think Sims 4 is actually quicker because I've been playing Sims forever and it's second nature to me now. So it's just hi, if you're playing Sims 4, did you know if you're putting down furniture and you hold down the Alt key, you can rotate it freely and it doesn't snap to the grid? That's really good for making shit that doesn't look everyone lives on a grid.
Yeah.
It's also right now both comics I'm working on are in made up worlds, so there is no real world reference for any of their shit.
So what I sometimes do is I just put down bullshit.
Yeah.
Like I put down like an object just because it's good for maintaining perspective. I'm like, that's a tree. I know it looks like a road sign, but that's a tree.
Here's my world building tip. Do it later.
Yeah.
Honestly, Casey, that's a pretty good tip. Like,
look, I told everybody last time. People were like, hey, explain where tunes came from, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I do not know.
Here's the thing. Graham Spike is old, and she's been around for a while, and I have seen so much bullshit around people like just. Well, I'm going to make my comic, but first I need to establish like the last 5,000 years of its history. And I also need to make sure the raiments of all the different courts and all the different lands aren't too identical. And I need to decide what the livery of the riding animals looks like. And also we need to establish this, that, the other. And what does their crockery look like on the shore as opposed to in the mountains? And it's like, shut the fuck up. Just make the comic. And I that comes from a place of love. Shut the fuck up. Because that's nothing. That's fucking busy work. You're not Lucasfilm. You're not Disney. You don't have 50 people putting together your cultures. It's just you. Shut the fuck up. Make the comment. Figure it out when you get there.
So Spike, what I did for You're the Chosen One is I wrote the first 4 chapters, and then I made a document that is things Kel needs to figure out how to draw, and just made a list of each new location as it showed up in the comic. And I did do a little bit of that stuff because it's like, okay, so there's gonna be 3 main locations: the mountains, the rivery area, and the capital. So basically, I designed what it looks like in the mountains, what it looks like in the capital, and then since the like rural area that the fishing village is kind of in between them, and I just was like, and they're a combo of the two because they're fucking in the middle. There we go. Job done. But I just designed everyone's house as it showed up, and figured all that out one by one.
Yeah. But like, to be fair, I don't want to be horrible because it's like,
what?
Shut up. Other people have different methods that absolutely work. But I feel in my bones because I've seen this fuck people up more often than help them.
Yeah, there's definitely like world building as a means of procrastination.
Yes, permanent procrastination where you're designing like the gorgeous riding pants that your protagonist wears for 10 pages in chapter 18. And it's like, you need to not be doing that. You have one life.
I do, I'll post a little sketch of what I usually do,
Yeah. And Blokada here's the thing. Blokada has a lot behind it. If anyone here follows me on Twitter or has seen my Sketchfab library when I linked it, it's clear it's got a tone. It's clear it's got an inspiration. The kind of art I've been retweeting has been very sort of indicative of what I'm absorbing. I don't have a formal mood board for it, but I kind of know what direction it's going in. But at the same time, there is no giant story Bible anywhere because I have been tempted by that many times. The whole, well, I need to sit down and I need to figure everything out. That is a trap. For people like me, maybe not for everyone, but that is a trap. And I have seen that trap spring on a lot of people who, to this fucking day, 20 years later, never made that goddamn comic. And they would have been way better off just diving in, only having the vaguest idea of what they were going to do than they would have done sitting down, making 50 pages of a planned 400-page story Bible, burning out completely, and then never coming back to it. Because now nobody gets to see it.
Mm-hmm. So I just put in our chat 2 things that, like...
Do you want me to share them?
Yeah, you can share them. It's basically, I was like, all right, so they're going to go to Connor's house.
Exactly.
But they're only going to go in the main
I'm not
hallway
gonna because I do have to, like, this is my downloads are getting crummy.
Okay.
I need
Okay.
I'm gonna make I need to make a folder for this kind of stuff in the future. I'll make a folder.
I believe in you.
But Spike can see it.
Yes.
So
Oh,
like
let
I
me
do
see.
the like we're going to Connor's house, but we only go to this one room. So I will draw
Ah.
the front entrance, and then I will draw the room that they're in. And I don't need to design the details of the rest of the house, but I do know for future reference this is what rooms are in the first floor of his house.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I have seen people use SketchUp to
So
do this too.
So, like, I don't have a design for his kitchen, but I do know his kitchen is on the other side of the front hall.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to get screenshots of my Sim stuff. I basically, like, for the characters' house, I build one room, so it's just like this disembodied room on like a lawn. Because it's like, that's the only thing I need. I'm not building anything else. I don't know
Yeah.
what this. Abby, go away!
And again, it's worth noting
That was
that
a
like
joke.
what we're talking about here is just reference. Reference isn't for us to like sit down and trace line for line every single time. Like if you want this to be a medieval castle or whatever, you can still go into Sims and build something that's close enough and then just use your imagination to fill in the gaps. These are just
Yeah,
tools
sometimes
that you're
it's more
using.
just about like having like obvious perspective lines to follow. Like I said, sometimes it's like
Yeah.
the room I'm actually putting a character in will not look anything like this, but I've just put specific objects that like scale easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, like, for me, it's just like so I know where they're coming from and kind of how to stage certain scenes.
Yeah.
And also it's like you said, oh, you don't copy it line for line every time, but I designed a big temple for You Are the Chosen One, and you best believe that I copy paste that temple like every time into my pencils. It gets re-inked every time, but
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
like temple is copy pasted.
No, I totally get
Because it's
since you
a
just
building, it don't change.
yeah, well, you like designed that from raw, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like that makes total
yeah.
sense, and nothing wrong with that. But I want to show what I am using. Folks who are
Snake
reading,
of June in chat says they did a dilapidated hospital for a comic and gave on keeping it consistent. I don't really think backgrounds need to be consistent. I just think as long as, like, it really doesn't matter. Honestly.
yeah, I mean, it's important that it's clear enough that they're in the same spot. But beyond that, it's very rare you're going to like run into somebody who's going to be all like, this page was great, but 4 pages ago, that bottle of milk was actually a little closer to the edge of the table, and now it seems more like right of center. And also, I'm not convinced by the perspective on the kitchen table and the perspective on that wicker chair matching. It's just a little, I don't know. Like, there are people like that out there. They're
Well,
terrible people, but
I
it's
also
not
think
common
scene
to run into them.
continuity is a little less important with like sequential comics and that kind of style of thing because like you are jumping from scene to scene a little bit more. You really aren't like like there's you don't really need that flow. It
Yeah.
does like whereas like a movie, for example, like everything you do is to maintain a sense of flow and like realism for the most part. And you don't really got to do that most of the time. Even if you're drawing in a hyper realistic style, comics are never going to depict motion and life and perspective the way it looks. They're just not. And that lets you, one, get away with stuff, but like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going.
No, I totally get what you mean.
I
totally
talked
get
in a
what you mean.
circle and I'm like staring at a wall.
Yeah, I think that it's important that you sort of make sure. I'm a big believer in the establishing shot. I just am. I think it's important people know where characters are. But after that, frankly, you can be as loosey goosey as you want. Like if somebody is on the roof of a school, there should be at some point where it's pretty clear they're on the roof of a school. And if that is the one background you want to draw for that chapter, okay.
For me, it's more about mood. Like if constantly seeing the background is like would really enhance the mood, I think it's an important, but like there's a lot of things where it's like, think about films when people like in the focal length of like lenses people use that intentionally blur backgrounds behind characters. Like, not to compare comics to movies, but I think like people don't realize like even the visual tricks people use in other mediums. So there's like they actually try to separate characters from the background with like a telephoto zoom lens or whatever.
As long as there's no horses or cars, I like to draw backgrounds.
Backgrounds have grown on me.
Yeah. They used to be really painful for me, but now that I have sort of a method worked out, a method that's 3D assisted, they take much less time and I have more fun with them.
I love putting stupid signs into backgrounds.
Oh, signs are fun. I think for me, it was just starting to learn how to draw buildings and settings the way I draw characters and not thinking of it as like the box I'm going to put people in. And that also like lets me make the lines more. I kind of don't care if the lines are squiggly anymore.
That's partly why
exactly people aren't always focused on the background.
Takes place in not our world, is so I could design everything from scratch and therefore have more fun with it. Because all the buildings kind of have an Art Deco-y style in City Between. I'm
gonna post a link. I'm gonna post a link in the chat, Amanda, if you could like put it on screen or something, or an image. Here, there we go. That is probably, I feel like that is like my graduation pick out of hating backgrounds.
I'll do yours since I did Kel's.
Yeah, that's my graduation pick out of hating backgrounds because I worked really hard on that and it took a long time, but it didn't take me nearly as long as it might have like 5 years ago. And I enjoyed it way more than 5 years ago.
Oh, I'll never draw anything that looks like that. I'll die first. You can't make me.
And this is kind of like, it feels a lot like, you know, again, like a graduation because it's like, it has multiple figures all in proper perspective, you know, in the, like they're attached to the ground in the correct way. And they're all where they should be in relation to the building in the background. And I was disproportionately likely really proud of that shot.
Dead Deception is about...
Oh, I turned the goat back on.
The Dead Deception's about solving a murder that takes place in a convenience store, and I had a lot of fun coming up with dumb fast food names. There's one of which, my favorite of which, is Po-Po Chips, which is referencing an ancient meme that will make some people turn to dust. It was how someone did like that remix of Sam from the Lord of the Rings trilogies saying potatoes and like potatoes.
Oh my God. Get ready for the wedgie that's coming your way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'll get in a Le Tired brand in there too.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
And yeah, I just had fun.
Yeah, Casey, Gag Comics. Yeah, Gag Comics aren't very background dependent. One of my favorite cartoonists growing up was Gary Larson. He did the Far Side, and he released a compilation with author's notes in it several years ago, a very long time ago. And one of them was just, in this shot, there's a rug on the floor, and I literally only drew half of it. And nobody's ever said anything. It's just half a rug on the floor where there should be a whole rug. People are fine with it. Like, nobody looks. It's a Gag comic.
Again. Well, not even... I can't tell you how many times I've made a mistake in a comic and realized, wait, no one else noticed that. No one's ever pointed it out. Like, I told y'all about the possum. Yes. The possum whose toe count... who is heavily featured on a page, running for its little life so you can see all its little fingies and toes. And between its two introductory panels, its finger count changes. No one's ever pointed it out. It took me like a year to notice it. And I'm like, you know what? That was when I had my like awakening. Like, nobody cares. I don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
The fucking main character in the comic I'm doing right now has been a fucking nightmare because you
made it a nightmare.
I did it. I did it to myself. I'm just like fucking Cal. I did it to myself. This is self-inflicted. He has striped skin. And there are pages up right fucking now where I forgot to put the stripes on him. And in the first half of what's currently up, he gets into a fist fight. And sometimes I fucking remember he did that, and sometimes I don't. So his knuckles are jacked in some pages and not jacked in others.
To be fair, you draw those pages like months apart sometimes. So like it's much easier to forget things when like, okay, what did I draw last time? Let me go reread my own comic again.
Straight up, that's what I have to do. I open the goddamn Pillow Fort page and I scroll through it, going, okay, wait, where was that? What side was the chip in the brim on his hat? What side? What?
That's what I had to do when bringing Love Me Nice back. It's like I had to like go look at my own webcomic for reference. Like, wait, I haven't drawn this in 3 years. Oh God.
Yeah. It's
just Rebecca shows up in Murky Water, and she hasn't shown up since Fame and Misfortune, and I had to look up what her coat looks like.
Oh no, Abby!
I don't know how to draw it because I last drew it in like 2013.
Oh, Abby, it's okay. It's kind of like that person who did the Steam like summer sale banner, and Chun-Li had 2 left feet. I remember that. And then you came back like a couple hours later and it was fixed. It's like, too late. I saw it, man.
Nothing mattered. Well, not, you know what I mean. It doesn't matter that much. I think if it matters to you, it matters. But like, I can't tell you how many times I've said, I'm going to freehand this background element. I'm not going to trace the pencils. I'm just going to freehand it. And that is not a straight line. And people just don't notice that it's not a straight line.
Yeah. I remember like the most depressing statistic that cartoonists love to pass among themselves is that the average person looks at a comics page for 8 seconds.
Oh my God, Casey just made me like flashback, like fall backwards into like a whole...
Oh?
Talk about... I don't know how to pronounce it. Sue Chan?
Which one's that?
Oh, never mind. Look, It doesn't matter. I'm just saying I fell down a nostalgia hole.
I read interviews
gaming journalism
with Toriyama that made me be like, this is the real reason why he's a genius. He's like, every Dragon Ball Z fight starts with the villain doing a giant attack that decimates the landscape. I don't have to draw the city twice. In at the start of Dragon Ball, Bulma keeps crashing her vehicle.
Snake, I blame.
He really likes, because he keeps Bulma keeps crashing her vehicle because
he wants to draw it once.
He likes to design vehicles. He does not like keeping them consistent. So so it's like, I'm tired of drawing this now. She's crashed it into a truck. It's like, I'm done. And it's like, no.
Totally justifiable.
Cell changes forms because those spots were a pain to draw. Super Saiyans have blonde hair because he is taking too much time to fill in black hair. So
and the man's got a schedule.
Yeah.
A really unreasonable schedule.
So he's a genius. And he's the smartest comic artist.
Yep.
Yeah, my most recent page, I'm proud of it because I think it looks good, but it was also I am extremely busy right now. I can't draw a full human figure. I am just going to focus on objects and figure out a way to get what I am saying across as quickly as possible. And honestly, it's like I've gotten multiple compliments on a page I consider farted out. And it's one of those, nothing means anything. Nothing means anything.
I think obviously, like, when you're drawing certain types of art, like, and having your anatomy basics, good words, is important. But also, I think people forget, like, human bodies are goofed up. Like, human bodies do weird shapes and weird stuff, and there's a lot you can get away with. And, like, people like, bodies don't do that. It's like, I'm afraid they do, buddy. I'm afraid they do.
And honestly,
I don't like it, but that's what they do.
The most anatomically accurate body isn't always the best choice. It's not the most dynamic thing to look at. I'm sure we have all, and again, coming from a place of love deep within my heart, I am sure anyone here who reads enough comics has come across that 1, 2, several dozen, several hundred comics where all the people in it look like fucking corpses propped up like puppets. And you're all like, what the fuck? And I happen to know that particular look comes from someone religiously following the Clip Studio Paint mannequins. They pose the mannequins exactly how they want them, and then they put over another layer and they trace it exactly. And that is how you
it's
make a body
also-
look dead as shit.
Also, there's a lot of that's very prone to comics that are based off of a live action TV show.
Oh yeah, I've seen that
Um,
so much.
And that is also partly because comics based off a licensed live action TV show need to replicate the actor's likeness.
Yeah, isn't it usually like
So-
like sometimes in the contract, like
Yes, no, the when I tested to draw Buffy, all
I
the
love
Buffy
this
actors
story.
had to
I love this
approve my
story.
drawings. And I apparently I got approval from all of them except for Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh my
It's
god, I
like-
love that story. I love that that's in someone's contract, that they have to make sure you're drawing them how they want to be drawn.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
So like that leaves like not a whole lot of like wiggle room for like making them super kind of like cartoony expressive
yeah.
or something like that. Because you gotta like follow the way that actor looks like.
Good
absolutely-
night.
Oop, good night.
Casey, go to bed.
Right?
Bye, Casey. It's nice talking to you.
But
yeah.
but
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and I also have that impulse. I'm sure we all have that impulse. A
don't speak for
terrible
me.
impulse.
Watch yourself.
An impulse which is poison and garbage and should be immediately dismissed, which is the comic I have up now, because it is a comic I do when I have a free moment, and I don't have a lot of free moments. It has taken roughly a year to get up 33 pages, and I'm at that point now where I'm looking at the earlier pages and I'm feeling the urge to redraw.
Nope.
Because
that's
yep.
the way in which
Nope,
madness lies.
Don't do that.
Don't do it.
That's Satan. That's Satan in your
Don't
ear
redraw.
telling you to do that. It's done. Leave it. Leave it. It could be the ugliest thing on earth. Leave it. Fucking leave it. You're done. You did it.
You
It's done.
can't
If you-
unhave that baby.
Yeah, if you in 5 years, if it's done, if the entire comic is completely finished and you want to go back and you want to tighten up some of the earlier pages for the omnibus print edition, then you have permission.
Yeah, when you're done, like every page you could go back and redraw is a page you're not drawing.
Exactly. And no one gives a shit about on page 22 her eyes are too far apart. No one fucks with that.
Yeah,
No
my
one cares.
eyes were too far apart yesterday. I got over it.
Now I only fix things if they're a continuity error.
Okay, that's permissible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my new rule with redrawing stuff. Only if it's a continuity error. And it's a continuity error that like matters.
Yeah. If you forget to draw the holy sword in someone's hand during a sword fight, then that's something
like
we
I
will
realized I forgot to put pockets on Maria and Connor's pants about halfway through Murky Water. So before I do the print version of Murky Water, I'll probably go in and add their pockets back.
Yeah. But people would much rather see brand new pages from any comic they're following than see an update from you going, good news, everybody. Instead of giving you new content for the story you're following, I went back and I redrew pages 1 through 12 because now so-and-so has 3 hair antennae instead of 2, and I really wanted it to be consistent. No one cares.
To be fair, that wouldn't be a difficult edit to do.
No, but it's not something you should be wasting your time on.
No, it is not.
No, it's not.
Like, I have changed dialogue in my comic, like gone back and changed dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
But that was
Dialogue,
mostly
I can do
because,
that.
again, when I started, like, for my webcomic, when I started writing it, oh my god, over 10 years ago.
We're all grannies. We're all grands.
Dig a hole
Everybody's
for me.
old. Yeah.
Anyway, but, so I was... this was back when even though it's like, I was like, I think I'm gay. It's like, I would just say, like, gay as an insult without, like, thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
And I had other words, too, that now I'm like, oh, that was bad words. And it's like, I changed, so I had a character who said one of those words. and I went back and I changed it, and someone's like, why are you changing it? It's like, because that character's being a jerk, but they're being a jerk in a very specific way, and I'm presenting that word like everyone says it.
Yeah.
That's the present. That's not what I want that presentation to be. I want them, if they're going to say a jerky thing, it needs to stand out as a thing a jerk would say. But right now, they're just talking like not a jerk. And because I used to think that wasn't jerk talk, but it's jerk talk, and now I'm misrepresenting that character.
Yeah, it's absolutely jerk talk. But see, I'm going to like make an argument right now. I think it's super important to insert jerk talk where jerk talk is absolutely appropriate but defining of a character.
But there's a difference because
there is. I'm not saying there's not. It's just that I have a character in a script that's being worked on right now who is using the R slur on like the first 3 pages where she shows up, and that is a really uncool word.
Yeah, that's the word I was talking about too.
Oh, yeah, she is kind of in a really terrible place in her life where straight up her mom doesn't fucking love her. It's like that is like early on established that she is like detritus in her own life and feels like a failure and is doing some really questionable, dangerous shit. She's just in a really horrible place that I feel is really unique to 16-year-old, and I'm saying this, you have to imagine the air quotes, 16-year-old failures. This is how she's going to be.
I also think, like, so stuff like that, you want to be really intentional when you do use it.
Yeah.
Because it's an easy defense of, like, well, they're an asshole, so they're going to say shitty things.
Roller coaster. But, yeah, the R word, roller coaster.
But I think actually deliberately not engaging in what is the way things are commonly used, even if a character is a jerk, like getting specific in how they're a jerk can help with characterization. So like there's a show that I forget the name of it, but the guy who plays Dennis in Always Sunny was like a substitute teacher who was a narcissist, and that's like the premise of the show, is he's using the high schoolers to help him get revenge on a guy that ruined his career. And so it's called AP Bio. I just remember the title. So these are all the smart kids. One of them is an Indian girl, and when he comes in, she is fully prepared for him to mispronounce her name, and he doesn't, because they're going with, like, because he's an asshole, that doesn't mean he's gonna also be racist. Like, there's a difference there. He's specifically an asshole in a self-absorbed, egotistical way, but not in a, like, completely doesn't know how to behave and...
Yeah.
He doesn't have a scorched earth policy.
Yeah. That is like, here's the thing. I have thoughts.
Sometimes
and these thoughts are, believe it or not. We all have thoughts. I know, it's crazy. But I have thoughts on the current state of popular media consumption. And when I say popular media consumption, I don't mean popular opinion-wise. I mean like pop culture media, stuff that's produced for the consumption of people. And a thing I have seen, and I will cop to the fact I do not see this a lot, but I see it more than I would like. This isn't something that's coming out of the mouths of fellow creatives, I can't help but notice. Just people who consume. And there's nothing wrong with just being a person who consumes. We literally need you, like everyone in this fucking podcast, whatever it is, needs people who consume to consume what we make, and we're very appreciative of that. But there is an infrequent strain of media criticism that I have begun describing internally as bad person is bad. And it's one of those things where it's like, yes, they're a bad person, so they are being bad right now. They are doing a bad thing. It's how we're going to be moving the plot along in this chapter. And the feedback that you get is bad person is being bad, why couldn't bad person be good in this circumstance? And it's like I
Well,
don't know
so
where
I
this
feel like,
fucking comes from. I really don't.
well, I think like some of it, and at least when creators have comments like that, because I have talked to other creators, they have a more nuanced way of explaining bad person is bad. It's
Mm-hmm.
that thing, it's being deliberate in how they're bad, and does this need to be here? Like, does it help the story if they are bad in this specific way? So I'm gonna give an example. Detective Pikachu is a ridiculous movie.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain a
Um,
lot because I haven't seen it.
that's
It's
all you
called
need to know. It's
Detective
ridiculous.
Pikachu.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous movie. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
But the villain is in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And he is mad that he is in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Um, and there's like 2 lines of dialogue that are basically him being in a wheelchair is motivated by him being angry that he is in a wheelchair. So people are like, he has a lot of other reasons that he gives for, and it's a ridiculous movie. Mad scientist guy in a wheelchair can just be a mad scientist. He doesn't need the wheelchair to be his motivation on why he has his ridiculous nonsense plan. He can just, it's the type of movie where he can just be like, and this is how I'll take over the world.
Or you can just be cackling evil Dr. Wily
Yeah,
type.
yeah. Because like his plan is nuts enough that like he can literally just be a ridiculous human who, this is how I'll take over the world. Yeah.
Amanda, I fucking
It's
saw
a
that.
movie
No, you
where
didn't.
he is fighting Pikachu. He can just want to take over the world.
I fucking saw that, Amanda.
No, you didn't see nothing. Don't worry about it.
Um,
You didn't see anything.
so there were people who were like, this is like an ableist trope that the villain's motivation is because they ended up handicapped, and it doesn't really need to be there. Because again, it's a ridiculous movie where this man is going to somehow merge his life force with Mewtwo. Like, he doesn't need to want to do that because he's in a wheelchair.
I didn't need. He didn't need any motivation other than.
Yeah, a motivation to want to merge with Mewtwo can just be, I would like to merge with Mewtwo.
No,
now.
he doesn't want to murder Mewtwo. He wants to become
merge.
Mewtwo.
Again,
of course.
I've seen lots of. I've met some dudes who I bet want the same thing. They just don't have the drive.
And I was talking to someone who
They don't work for it.
thought this criticism was kind of overblown because they're like, it's 2 lines of dialogue, it doesn't even really matter. And it's like, yes, and because it doesn't matter, why does it need to be there? You can just take it out.
And it's important to consider this stuff in the greater context of media in general, too, I think. Like, there is a really unfortunate strain in media in general, and maybe this is only the case in like American media, but I somehow doubt it, where people who are disabled or have facial differences or have, had catastrophic injuries of some kind that mean they have prosthetics or whatever, are depicted as like super duper evil. And it's one of those things that's kind of like a FedEx arrow, the same way, you're watching Disney films. And at some point, when you watch enough Disney films, classic Disney, I'll admit I haven't seen a Disney cartoon in a very long time, but I'm talking like classic Disney, where you're like, oh, there's a certain era where every single big bad has an accent. That's
so someone in the chat is like, he's an evil rich dude. He can just be evil and rich.
Yeah, I just assume people are. I assume rich people are evil till like proven otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, who needs evidence beyond that these days?
Yeah. So it's basically so like with you mentioning your book that has the R slur in it, like my thing is, well, why does that need to be there?
She's a teenage. In my defense is, she's a teenage girl going through a lot, abusing the one thing that is willing to take her abuse at the time.
Yeah, the
Right.
way I interpret
And
the
so
character is that this is a bad thing she's doing because she's
Yeah, and so
Right.
because you have an answer for that,
Yeah.
other than just, well, it's the time period, because
No.
I feel like if you don't have a plot or thematic reason for the use of something like that, then it becomes an unnecessary barrier for someone who might want to.
Like,
see, that's why I took it out of mine, because in the context of my character using it, they were just using it as like synonymous for dumb. That's it.
Yeah.
And so that's why in my example with AP Bio is he doesn't mispronounce the Indian girl's name.
Yeah.
Because it's like, while this show is about an asshole being an asshole, we're not gonna go for lazy jokes like that.
There is a bit about laziness that is definitely should be considered too. But like the context of my story in general, it's like the book opens, and you have to imagine the book opens with the person who is getting this.
No, I'm afraid. I don't know how to say name Kaito. I think it's Kaito, but no, being evil does not make you rich. I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't.
The person who is having this slur thrown at them is literally sitting in a high school toilet stall and crying uncontrollably because they are also a teenage girl and they see their literal best friend ever slowly destroying their life in the way that a lot of teenagers do, and they have absolutely no idea what to do about it, and the tears are fear and frustration, and she is just crying and crying and crying. Her name is Ashley, by the way. Ashley is just crying and crying and crying, and Odessa, who's the friend she is worried about, the friend who she sees literally teetering on the precipice of destroying her entire fucking life, is standing in the stall with her, filming her cry with her phone and being like, why are you so fucking stupid right now? Like, it's fucked up and horrible in that way, like teenagers can be. And that context kind of, along with the use of the word, establishes this is Odessa. This is how you're meeting her. This is the first thing you see her doing. And that is super important to me. And whenever anybody has said something about the language Odessa chooses, it's like, can you really not picture her using these phrases?
Well, the way I interpret it is like that's bad, and like it's very much an implication of what she's being taught.
Yeah. Her mother, when we meet her mother, the first thing they do is start screaming insults at her, at each other, rather. Like, the first conversation they have is Odessa lying about where she spent that afternoon, and the mother going, oh, okay, so you said you spent the day with Ashley. If I call Ashley up and ask her, is that what she's going to tell me? And Odessa's instant answer is, like, you know her number. So it's like, this is the relationship she has with her mom. Her mom is incredibly adversarial with her. And then the mom, after that, literally starts basically being super homophobic at her because she has recently shaved her head, and Odessa's mom is that kind of woman. And Odessa she just, like, the best way, she just sits there and she listens to it, and then she goes, the older I get, the worse you get at this. So, like, that's all the implication you need, where, Dad, I learned it by watching you. It's like, that's where this is coming from.
Yep.
And that is how I wrote it. I will die on a hill defending it. It's authentic, and it makes sense in context. Yeah.
That's fair. I do remember you would bring me you're just like, Amanda, people are saying that parents don't act like this. You can confirm. I'm like, yeah, parents act like this. It was very, Amanda.
Honestly, it's kind of sweet and kind of sad when people call Odessa's mom unrealistic. It's like, no, I don't think you know how terrible some people can be.
It reminds me when I saw some criticism like of that Turning Red Pixar movie of people saying what her mom did was over the top. Moms don't act like that. And I'm like, oh my God, what?
Yeah, I wish I lived the kind of life where I could believe that.
Oh, you sweet baby.
Yeah.
Oh, you sweet baby. Oh, yeah, honey, no.
Yeah, it's like
my favorite
go for it.
Criticism of Turning Red that's out there and does not make sense.
Oh, I know what you're about to say.
Mad.
Here we go. I know it.
Someone was mad that it didn't bring up 9/11.
Yeah, I remember that one. That has been memed
literally
so
laughed
hard. I
out
don't
loud.
want. That one's been memed so hard. I don't want to dwell on it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's like, oh god, yeah. But oh yeah, Snake of June. Yeah, Odessa's mom, there's a lot going on in this comic, and it's been in production for a very long time, and I hope it gets finished soon because I really want to publish it. It has literally turned into a period piece unintentionally. That's how long it's been in production. But
but you get what
yeah.
I mean, Spike, with the creating an unnecessary barrier, and as long as
Yeah.
well, that is your intent, and
Yeah.
people need to hop that barrier, they're not going to be down with a lot of the comic.
I mean, I think some people get really wrapped up in like, oh, I need to justify why this bad character acts the way they do, and on some level I kind of get it, but I think like they'll be like, oh, this character's evil because she was fat in high school and no one dated her, and it's like, same. I mean, same. I just got rats. I didn't try to murder people.
And in Blackout right now.
You just want to merge your body with Mewtwo in peace.
No, I want
That's beautiful
rats.
and valid.
I want rats.
Wanting to merge with Mewtwo. Amanda, we have a title for this Geek Show episode. Wanting to merge with Mewtwo is beautiful and valid.
I'm not typing that.
But yeah, it's like the comic I have going on Pillow Fort right now, Blackout. I made a joke on Twitter about the main character has committed 4 crimes in 30 pages and said 1 sentence. And it's like, yeah, he's doing awful shit. And this is kind of how I like to open things. I like to open things like super hard and like give you an opinion about somebody. And it appears to be working, and I'm very thrilled because people have a really bad opinion of him now. Because like the first thing he does, and I feel comfortable talking, lore here because it happened, it's extant in the world. You can go see it right now. First thing we see him do is try and rob somebody. Second thing we see him do is beat somebody into unconsciousness. Third thing we see him do is literally fucking murder somebody, and murder them in a way where it was not self-defense in the slightest. Like, sure, he was almost shot on the first page, but like, that is over. That happened. The person who is now unconscious and bleeding at his feet is no longer a threat. They do not have their gun, and they are much skinnier, older, and smaller than he is.
I just remembered
what he
something.
does. One of the choice that he makes to literally take them and drag them to a body of water and put his boot on the back of their head and hold their head underwater.
Spoilers.
After beating their skull
Spoilers.
with a rock.
Spoilers.
And do it all with a completely flat affect.
Spoilers.
Every choice in that scene was very intentional. And I swear to God, if I get a criticism that's like, but bad person is being bad, I'm probably going to scream.
Spike, this is America. No one cares about violence.
That's true. That's true.
Oh God, yeah. And yeah, it's like, it's one of those things, like, I promise I'm not going to go in hard on Webtoon, but this is one of those things people talk about. It's like, I don't see why this is on Pillow Fort. You could put this on a way bigger platform. I'm sorry, have you read it? No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm actually been thinking about
crescent moon skull on somebody when he's done with them, and it's not gonna fucking happen.
I've been thinking of mirroring Love Me Nice updates on Webtoons, so like get it caught up so they can like update at the same time when my backlog's done. And I realized I was reading their content stuff, and I'm like, oh, I don't think Love Me Nice can go on Webtoons.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been putting City Between on Webtoons. I might be accidentally breaking their terms of service.
I mean, their terms of service are really vague. Like, it's not terms of service, but their content guidelines are really vague. They say, like, no titillating nudity. I'm like, well, there's partial nudity, but it's not meant to make you horny. It's more just these two characters were doing it, and one of the characters is, like, admiring the other, and it's full of, like, sex jokes and cussing, and...
Yeah, they... Honestly, it's vague for a reason.
Go back to no one cares about violence. The thing I was wondering, the thing that Google constantly emails me about to say this violates our advertising terms, is there is a page where Connor shoots someone in the head.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I can imagine that being a violation of terms. Yes. But yeah,
But no, I was thinking about because you said that Odessa's kind of accidentally become a period piece, and talking about world building. So in the early pages of Love Me Nice, Mac has a little flip phone, and he uses a pencil to dial it. And the joke was he has a phone, but he's got big hands. And people are like, oh, is that why he has a flip phone? Because he can't hold an iPhone. And I was just like, no, he has a flip phone because the iPhone came out the year I started drawing this comic. Yeah. So iPhones just didn't exist.
Yeah.
Sorcery 101 started in 2005 and continued to take place in 2005 until it ended. And for the second omnibus, Meredith McLaren did like a little backup strip for me to put in it, and I had to send her a penciling note, a note when she showed me the pencils, which was, they don't have a flat screen TV because those didn't exist.
They existed, but they were exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah, and I'm like, so they need to have an old-timey box TV that sits on their TV cabinet.
Last time I visited my dad, they still had their giant plasma. I'm like, why? How is it not dead yet? And it's like faded. It's amazing. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's incredibly wild to think about. When I grew up, my parents had a big screen TV in the basement, and if that thing had like fallen over on Child Me, it would have died. Killed me.
I would have died. Oh man, do you know my mom and my dad, they were both kind of into really big TVs, and my mom, when we lived on, it doesn't matter. Y'all don't need to know what street we lived off. Anyway, I'm like flipping through my memories, like what street was it? We had like a what do you call it, like a game room, just a big like second living room that we didn't know what to do with, and it became like movie room. And she got around 2004 or 5, something like that. She got the biggest TV she could get at the time, which was basically like 2.5 feet deep, I want to say, taller than me, wider than I was. It was still square shaped. So it was as wide as it was tall, and there were so many days when like I'd kneel in front of it to like hook up the Wii or something, and I was just thinking, if this falls on me, I die.
Yeah. I remember that TV. It needed you couldn't just like buy the TV. You had to have people come, not to set it up, just to get it in the house, through the door, down the stairs. You needed movers with like equipment to get that TV. And now, like, a TV with the exact same, like, square feet, I guess, the same screen space, it's fucking hanging on my wall. It's like the thickness of a pancake. It's like technology.
God, that house was weird. That was one of those houses, like, we really couldn't afford it, but I think the only reason we got it is because it was so run down. It was like, well, you'd have to fix a lot of stuff, but, like, you can rent it anyway. Like, it had, like, a patio that was, like, had mosquito netted in with, like, a pond, but, like, we didn't do anything with the pond, so it just became a frog breeder.
Oh, that's cool though. Frogs are great.
Oh yeah, no, it fit. That's where my original nickname, my online nickname. Remember how I used to be little froggies? That's where it came from. We used to go and scoop up the little frogs from it was supposed to be a koi pond, but like hell we were gonna do anything but like.
Do you have raccoons in Texas?
Oh yes.
So like that was like a raccoon buffet, right?
More like possums.
Oh, okay.
I had to rescue. Once we had to rescue a baby possum out of the koi. I call it the koi pond. It was the frog pond. And it was very ungrateful. And I think raccoons ate my pajamas.
That's an interesting theory.
Well,
would you care to expound?
In the garage was where the washer and dryer was, and they were right next to the back door that led to the backyard. And again, we didn't do anything to upkeep this house because we could barely. It's like we're not gonna fix this house.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the crack under the door, I think, was just big enough for little raccoon's hands to fit underneath. One day I come out to get my laundry, and I realize someone had moved my dry laundry into a basket for me. I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then I look down, and my pajamas are crammed under the door. And when I pull them out from under the door, they have holes eaten all through them.
Oh, wow.
So I guess
because the raccoon snatched it and chewed on it.
Yeah, they just dragged it tried as much as it could through the door and stole pieces and left.
Your jammies were delicious.
Yeah, they were wonderful. Yeah, I grew up in a suburban neighborhood that
Frogs or possums or corn pops.
like when we moved into the house a year prior, it had just been forest. Like that's where I grew up.
That's not suburbia. That's the woods.
Yeah, and the woods is fair. I mean, it's the kind of experience where we would like wake up in the morning and there would be like just wild turkeys on the front lawn, which is wild because like that happens now in the city.
Woods, that's not suburbia.
Wild turkeys, deer, raccoons, foxes. For a while there was a belief, I don't know if it was confirmed, there was a belief that there were a couple black bears in the woods, and we definitely heard what I now recognize as some kind of large cat, like bobcat or something. And the thing about bobcats, folks, if you don't know, is a bobcat scream rather, sounds like someone faking, like a human being sitting in the woods, kind of drunk, faking a bobcat scream. It doesn't sound like it's coming out of a cat. It sounds like it's coming out of a drunken human trying to sound like a cat and being bad at it. So it sounds like wow, like that. And you know,
I heard
like,
one once, and it really did sound like wow.
Yeah,
wow. It's like, what are you doing?
You. It doesn't sound like an animal. It sounds like a person fucking with you.
It really does.
Yeah, bobcats are great.
Mostly we had to deal with snakes.
Oh god, snakes got in our house.
Oh yeah, our cats killed snakes for us.
Yeah, my parents put down. We had the basement. This is
I should say they didn't kill snakes. They tried their best though.
We put down glue traps in the basement because for a while the basement had mice, and you know what eats mice? Snake.
Me.
And there was a while where the glue traps. Part of my chores was going and checking the glue traps, and I saw a snake in the glue trap, and I was like. It was bizarre.
Owen Wilson is in the woods.
And the thing is, like my mind refused to accept what I was seeing because at the time I was very, very afraid of snakes. My parents had modeled fear of snakes for me, so I was extremely afraid of snakes. And I just my brain would not accept there were snakes in my house, So I saw that glue trap. I saw the snake in it. To this day, I remember perfectly what it looked like. And I just turned around and went back upstairs and didn't tell anyone and just was like, no, it wasn't.
Oh man, to be so scared of horses, me and my brothers were not scared of snakes at all. To the point that my mom recently learned that a snake she thought we took back and killed, we let go because she was like, she got mad. She was like, wait, those years ago, you didn't kill that snake. It's like, no, we just took it out and let it go. She's like, all this time I thought you were killing the snakes. They could have got back in. I'm like, yeah, but we would have taken them out again. She was just very upset that we weren't we lied and said we were killing the snakes, but we were just grabbing them by their tails, dragging them out, tossing them into the river.
Did you see that video of that old, I think Indian grandma who was just walking down the middle of the street of her village really leisurely, but dragging behind her that she was holding by the table was a literal fucking cobra, hooded up and pissed about it and everything. And apparently had just been in her family's house and she was shooed people away, grabbed the tail and just walked down the street with it. And the snake was trying to figure out how to turn around and get
that's
at her.
The thing. If you got their tails and you're just going pretty fast, there's not much they can do about it.
And she got to the edge of the village with the snake and just whooped.
Yeah.
Baseball through it into the woods. And they just turned around and walked away.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
But anyway, don't grow up in the woods.
I mean, it was fine.
It was scary.
It was fine.
It was scary.
Our house was made of wood and it leaned when the wind blew too hard.
Oh my God.
That was the house where the possums got my pajamas. That was not the defunct Koi Pond house.
Sounds like some fucking Luna Lovegood shit. Oh, that was the house where the possums.
How dare you make a Harry Potter reference in front of me? How dare
you're
you?
banned from this show.
Please.
I'm banned from the show for acknowledging Harry Potter.
Yep.
I know.
You didn't even. I read the books. I cast them away.
Too.
What? When did you read the books?
I audio read them.
Oh wait, you did that as an adult, huh?
So yes, I did.
Amanda, I'm the one that never finished Harry Potter.
I didn't finish it either.
It was cool.
I also hated it before it was cool. I never finished it because it pissed me off.
Harry didn't get to Hogwarts. I gave up before that happened.
Wow, that's
okay. Never mind. I gave up around book 5, I think. After 5, I was like, I'm done with these. I can't do these
This was
anymore.
back,
Yeah.
like, it was a very long time ago I read it, because I remember that's when I had, like, zero money. And I was basically,
Iron Circus
you know,
goes to Amanda now. Spike is the turn.
I was, I was acquiring
Please, I don't want Iron Circus. I'm
audiobooks.
so tired. It's so much work, and I don't want it.
Shut up. I was acquiring audiobooks, and basically what was the easiest to get on the connection I had at the time was the most popular stuff, because it had the most people willing to assist in your acquisition of the audiobooks. And that's the reason I audio read Harry Potter, because while I was working, it was just I wanted something playing.
And now you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, Harry. never got
Acquisition
to
is wrong, everybody. Don't do it. It's bad.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing at me?
Harry never got to Hogwarts. I thought it was boring, and I went to read something else.
Totally fair. I personally another thing that I read the same way as Song of Ice and Fire. So I'm definitely one of those people. The books were better. I'm definitely one of those people.
I recently read A Song of Ice and Fire through audiobooks. I don't like the guy who reads the Song of Ice and Fire audiobooks, so I
But he does voices.
he does shitty voices. He does horrible voices. I found intolerable. Anyway, I found a guy on YouTube who was doing like an amateur audiobook reading of it. And it was fun because first of all, I thought he did a better job reading it. But since he is an amateur and doesn't have like a professional studio, every so often his cat would join in. So
So just in the background, like during an audiobook.
So it's like Bronn having that fight in the Eyrie against the Older Knight, and him describing what's going on, and then the cat just comes up and goes, "Meow! I'm involved in this too."
Why are you doing things that aren't feeding or petting me?
Someone like watches the
Exactly,
show after listening to the audiobook. It's like, I thought there was a cat here.
There should be a cat here.
I distinctly heard a cat.
They got the guy who played Viserys in the show, Henry Lloyd, to read the Duncan and Egg short stories.
Okay.
And he did a really good job on that audiobook.
Oh yeah, I just realized my distaste for Harry Potter resulted, or rather my falling out with Harry Potter as a teenager is what resulted in my Toxic Witches story.
Oh.
I basically started writing that because Harry Potter pissed me off. I was like, I'm going to make my own fucking witch comic. That it doesn't make me mad.
I read a lot of good books that have that origin story, Amanda.
No, they don't have the same origin. I'm saying I didn't like the world building is what I didn't like. So I decided I'm going to make my own.
Exactly. They didn't like the world building, so they wrote their own wizard book.
Yeah, there are videos you can find all about how, I think Sean made one, about how Harry Potter's world building is actually terrible. And
no, I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm special for doing that. I'm saying that's the proof that in high school I said, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Yeah.
Spike, Sean's is less about the world building in Harry Potter. And
it does point out how shitty also point out how shitty the world building is.
Yeah, it's about a lot of things, but Sean brings up stuff, and I'm like, yeah, fucking.
What the fuck? Tim Curry did a reading of the series of Unfortunate Event books.
Yeah, I have those. Those I have on Audible. I have those on Audible.
I used to love those books as a kid. I love the shit out of those books.
He does a great job reading the audiobooks, Amanda.
Oh my god. I don't usually listen to fiction audiobooks just because I'm usually working, and if I get like immersed in a story, I will just put down my pen and start drooling. But I might make an exception.
Yeah, audiobooks are awesome because honestly, it feels to me like while I am working, once I have planned out the page, I'm using this is going to sound bizarre. I'm using my entire brain when I am laying out a page, doing the sketch, tightening the sketch, doing the perspective, doing the props, doing the background. I'm using my whole brain. Once the sketch is finished and it's time to ink and shade and letter, part of my brain is now fucking bored because it's like it needs something to do while I just go through the mechanical, technical process of completing the page. And that is the part that is listening to the audiobook.
I listen to my...
You go first, Amanda.
You go.
No, you go first.
I was saying, I'm in a similar boat. If I'm writing, what I do lately is I have a record player now, and I have a bunch of, like, old records I got, and when I'm writing, and I just need something in the background, I will put on records, because usually it's, like, old music. I know, it's nothing that's going to distract me, but it also makes me stand up every, like, 5 minutes to flip them. Mm-hmm. So it's a way to, like, get out of my chair. It's like, I gotta go flip this goddamn vinyl. But that's what I do when I'm writing. Whenever I am doing something like that, like you're talking about, I need, like, a podcast where people are talking a lot, or I need an audiobook about nonfiction where it's something... It just needs someone to keep me company, basically.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But I can't have anything that I am personally involved in, because I know y'all like have, oh, hey everyone, let's have a work Skype or something like that, and you'll have discussions. I literally can't do that because
but I need you to entertain me.
I can't talk to people and work at the same time. I need to be like listening to an audiobook or something that I'm not going to be involved with at all.
Sacrifice your productivity for mine.
It's simple.
Yeah. But what were you saying, Kel?
I like talking to people while I work. Clearly,
Same.
I am honing some pages while we're doing this right now. But I also go through a shit ton of audiobooks. Lately, I've been going through The Witcher.
I need to read that.
You know what's great about The Witcher, Spike, is the author really wants you to know how great abortion is.
That's awesome.
He has his soapbox, and he'll interrupt the story to tell you how great it is every so often. I checked it out because the YouTuber I like, Sophie from Mars, did a bunch of YouTube videos about The Witcher, the books versus the show versus the games. And she mentioned how pro-abortion they are. And I was like, this has to be an over-exaggeration. And it's like, no, there is literally a story that starts with a king being mad at a witch for performing abortions. And she's like, abortions are great. And you can't control other people's bodies. And the king says, I don't like abortion because it makes it harder for me to control people.
Yup.
Yeah.
But
Snake of June. I am personally honored to be your background noise while you work. That's great, honestly.
Yeah. But if we're recommending books, I want to jump in real quick and recommend something that, like, if you're a sci-fi person, you've probably already read it. But I find a lot of people don't read this, and part of the reason I'm recommending it is because when you do, so many things that are just currently present in pop culture in general suddenly snap into place because you found their origin story. It is a sci-fi novel called Roadside Picnic by the Strugatskys. It's I think they're brothers, Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. Roadside Picnic is something that has inspired so many spin-offs, so many video games, so many TV shows. And the concept is, when people go on road trips, or once upon a time, when this book was being written, when people would go on road trips in like Russia and honestly in the US too, there weren't like McDonald's on every corner. And what you would do is you pack a lunch, and halfway to wherever you were going on your 10-hour drive, you would stop and you would have a picnic. And you would get back in the car when you were done and you would leave. And if you were kind of a shitty person, maybe you left behind your trash. Roadside Picnic is like that. It is about aliens came to Earth and they did something. They did not talk to us. They did not communicate with us. They did not even consider us worth acknowledging in any way. This was not like a failed attempt at contact. That's like saying you failed to contact the anthill 20 feet from your picnic site at the Roadside Picnic. They didn't fucking care. But the aliens, or whatever it was, I'm saying aliens because that seems to be the most popular interpretation, they left behind their trash. And now Earth is trying to figure out what the fuck just happened to it. And there is an area, it's very comparable to the Pripyat, the Chernobyl sort of exclusion zone, where the aliens, air quotes, stop the car. And that is where all their trash is. And the area is full of things nobody fucking understands. that occasionally does terrible things and makes terrible things happen. And there are people
That's my favorite kind of plot device, honestly.
yeah, there are people whose it's kind of like the lottery. If you can get in there and get some of these things and get out in one piece, it will make you a fortune. So this if you play video games, you might be thinking this sounds really familiar. Roadside Picnic is like to Russian and a lot of Eastern countries what like iRobot or Brave New World is to the West. It's like it's a foundational sci-fi book. So a lot of Russian and Eastern European sci-fi takes inspiration from Roadside Picnic. And like a perfect example is it starts off with somebody going into the exclusion zone, and there are things going on there where there are trucks that they're not allowed to move because it's in that area that have been there for like 25 years in the open weather that look brand new. There are things just floating in midair, like leaves that fell from trees that are just stuck in midair. There are things that look like cobwebs, but are definitely not cobwebs. And there is one person who braved the exclusion zone trying to make their fortune and find artifacts, little bits and pieces the aliens left behind to take back with him. And while he was there, he's not sure what did it, but all the bones in his legs disappeared.
Yay!
So now he's in a wheelchair. And you know, not his legs, just the bones.
Yay!
It's pretty cool. It's really fucking cool. So if you've never read Roadside Picnic, I strongly recommend it. Also, unsurprisingly, going in the exclusion zone too much, it probably does stuff to your gametes. So we're gonna leave it at that.
Joke's on you.
Yeah,
My
so
gametes are already
fucking
fucked
cool.
up.
Roadside Picnic is a fucking banger, and I recommend it to everyone. Yeah, Stalker
if you
is strongly inspired by Roadside Picnic.
And if you really want some pro-abortion fantasy, read The Witcher.
You know,
Yeah,
I
pretty
had
sure
that
in
icebreaker
Roadside Picnic-
topic, but I think I'm going to save it for next time because, like, we're pushing 2 hours.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in Roadside Picnic, the people who go into the zone, and it's called the zone, I'm pretty sure, are called stalkers. So, but yeah,
I'm just thinking about pizzones.
Pizzo. Oh, I could go for a calzone right now.
I want a pizzone.
I want a calzone.
I want a pizzone. It's very specific, Spike.
What is a pizzone?
I think it's a Pizza Hut calzone.
Oh, well, that sounds like it sucks.
No.
What are you gonna do? Shoot me? But yeah,
I have it preloaded. It's ready to go. It's always here. I didn't delete
That
it.
shit out.
It's here.
Every time I say something objectionable, I'm like the Sonic movie was terrible, just whip that gun out.
It was fine, Spike. It
I
was
did not.
okay.
I did not see it. I will admit,
I did
not
see it. Yeah, we're on a bit of a lag, so it took a while.
Yeah.
I love that shit. Just the idea every time I say something you don't agree with, just his hand appears. Oh, I'm
See,
gonna
that's
die.
what I tried to do last time with the knife, but I guess it wasn't actually a PNG. I got pranked. I got
Snake
pranked
of
by
June,
Google
Pathologic.
Images.
Yep. Pathologic also bears the marks of being inspired by Roadside Picnic. It's
Interesting.
it's a puzzle piece. Once you read it, you're like,
One bullet, Amanda.
oh. It's really cool. It's really cool.
I want a pizzone. Oh my god, I want pizza. Oh, I'm dying.
I'm thinking I should maybe rewatch Detective Pikachu.
Nerd.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Nerd.
It was
Okay.
pretty fun.
But Amanda is right. We are pushing 2 hours, and I think
we can go for 3.
No, we cannot.
No, I do have to
I
go
can.
get back to work.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much for coming. Please subscribe to us and hit the bell so that every time we have one of these, you get an alert and you can sit in and have us be your background noise. Your very animated and opinionated background noise.
I got
It really does matter. Help us conquer the algorithm by liking stuff, subscribing.
We are not going to do shit with the algorithm. I do not care. If you cared about the algorithm, we'd turn comments on.
I know, right?
But we're not doing that.
But.
The algorithm can suck
I am
it.
Spike. Thank you. I'm Spike. Thank you very much for listening. The comic that I won't shut up about this episode in particular can be found on Pillow Fort. All you have to do is go to pillowfort, all one word, .social /Iron Spike, all one word. My Twitter is connected. My Twitter rather is at the bottom there under my little flappy mouth portrait, so you can feel free to follow me there. And please buy comics from ironcircus.com. It really does help and it really does matter. We have a crowdfund running right now for Jesse Sharon's The Sea in You. It is a queer supernatural romance, the perfect comic to back for Pride Month.
gay.
No blockchain technology involved. We are funding
very
it
gay.
privately, and it's on ironcircus.com. Just go there and you will see a link at the top of the page.
I'm Kel McDonald. I make comics you can read at kelmcdonald.com. The comic I make that has all the nice Art Deco-y buildings that Amanda showed concept art for is called The City Between. It is
Sponsored.
about gay werewolves in a futuristic city that has no horses and no cars. And then on my Patreon, which is just Kel McDonald on Patreon, I post a comic called You Are the Chosen One, which is about 23 kids get the same prophecy dream telling them they're the chosen one. They're all in a Rube Goldberg machine of destiny. Please back my Patreon so you can see all the dumb horses that I drew for this comic. And I am on Twitter as Kelhound, which is spelled like Hellhound.
It's
but
under
with
your
a K.
name.
Yeah.
I'm Amanda. My Twitter handle is under the name. You can read it right down there. Someone please yell at me tomorrow if I have my pinned tweet with all my links is gone because my tweets get deleted whenever they're 3 months old. So please someone yell at me tomorrow if I haven't replaced it, because that's how you're going to find my shit.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.